Moving on to Unit 2, what we're going to be covering in this section is structuring your deal using other people's money. So guys, we're on to the next section where we talk about other people's money, also known as OPM. And a lot of these questions that we're going to be going over are very similar to the same questions we've answered when we're looking at settling the deals ourselves. And as I mentioned, property trading isn't a hard business. It's not complex by any means, but it's the same rules of checklist that we go over every time to ensure that we are going to realize profits on the other end. And the questions basically we need to be asking when it comes to other people's money is, what deposit do I have? Do I actually have access to a JV money partner, or whereabouts am I going to find these people? How much money does my money partner actually have access to? Do I have enough funds for other expenses? Is the deal actually worth getting a money partner involved? What's the profit split we'll be working with for you and your money partner? And how do you actually propose this to your JV money partner? So the first question we have to ask ourselves, guys, is what deposit amount do I have? And this is actually still needed when you're considering using other people's money for a JV money partner deal. And the reason why is because if you actually can contribute a deposit amount, that actually leverage the conversation in terms of profit split with your money partner, where you can actually leverage to, for example, do a 60-40 split instead of a 50-50 split. And basically, it can be a no money down deal if you don't have money at all, and you can get your money partners to actually front the whole thing, including the deposit. But it also depends on how you've actually structured the deal with the actual vendor at hand. And what I mean by that is sometimes, for example, when I'm going out and meeting a private vendor, it's often the case that I do have to put down some form of deposit, and it needs to be paid when I go unconditional, which is generally a 10 to 14 or 15 days period from actually drawing up the contract to the point where I actually pay a deposit. And the reason why sometimes you have to figure out if you need a deposit or not is because if you don't have money and the deposit ends up being 10 grand or 5 grand or sometimes even more than that, well, you're going to have to sometimes actually front the deposit first and actually go and ask your money partner to get the deposit back, deposit amount afterwards, after you've actually paid. And sometimes this is just how it's structured depending on each deal and what you've actually organized with the vendor. But it helps if you have some form of amount. It doesn't have to be a big off a percentage as you would with a deal that you're settling yourself when you're using your own money. But it's still important to note that when you are going unconditional on a property, often I do put anywhere ranging from about a 5 grand deposit up to kind of 10 grand, and sometimes more depending if the vendor actually needs the money. Now, there are times where I've actually done deals where I've put $0 as a deposit, and that means that I can actually go out and approach my money partner and get the money partner to actually settle out the remaining funds, which is the entire purchase price. So again, it's just how you actually structure the deal, and that would determine if you actually need some form of deposit to help the vendor out in terms of when you call it unconditional, or if you want to actually use that as leverage to leverage more profit for yourself when you are splitting the profit with you and your money partner. So you can see on the screen here, just as a brief example, my general split is if I don't provide any money up front at all and the money partner is actually providing all the funds for everything, we actually split the profit 50-50. Now, if I'm putting in some form of money ranging anywhere from $1 all the way up to 10 grand, I expect the money partner to actually give me more of a profit share because I've actually contributed a little and I'm also managing the entire process. And in this instance, I require 55/45 split, so I get 55% of the profits and the money partner gets 45%. Now, when it comes to talking about bigger numbers, anywhere from 10 grand upwards, and there have been cases where I've put down, a 50 grand deposit and sometimes even higher, but at times when I do that, I do expect at a minimum that my profit split is going to be 60% of the profits and the money partner is going to be 40%. Again, this can be arranged in any way, shape or form on how you want to kind of work out the profit splits with your money partner, but keep in mind you want to keep them happy, because without the money partners we wouldn't be able to grow the business and do as many deals. So that's also very important to note. So the next question we need to ask ourselves is, where are we actually going to be finding these JV money partners that are going to be lending their money for our business, where we can actually do property deals and make money on the other end? And JV money partners are actually a crucial part of the business, because often, a lot of the times, if you can only do 1 or 2 deals using your own money, or not every deal actually allows you the opportunity to on-sell the deal, unfortunately you're going to be limited to how many deals you have access to, just with your own funds and just with on-selling. So having a good network of JV money partners actually allows you to do a lot more deals at any given time, and that means you're actually leaving no money on the table. For example, if there was actually 2 deals that came about but your money's already tied up, well, it's a lot better to actually do the deal and split half the profit with a money partner, rather than walk away and not do a deal at all. So that's my theory, and that's what's actually really worked for my business and allowed me to do a lot of different deals and have access to a lot of different funds. So how I actually grew my database of JV money partners is using the same methods that I've provided on the screen here. And that's by actually going out to networking events and just meeting people, as well as connecting on Facebook. And there's a ton of property investor community groups that I'm a part of, that I can message people and be, give them my idea of what I do, and actually meet them in person and meet up for a coffee and actually explain what it is you do. And I do this when I've got time. I'm not too busy actually doing the actual deals myself, and when I'm not actually going out to do the deals, I'm also growing a different aspect of my business, which is growing my database of JV money partners. And it can be as simple as just meeting up for a coffee, and you might not even have a deal available for the JV money partner, but at least you can use that time to actually show the potential money partner what it is you've done in the past and what it is that you can actually help them with. And often these JV money partners, don't have the time to do the property trading deals themselves, or they're working professionals. I've met people that are doctors and lawyers that are also part of my JV money partner team, that simply don't have the time, and they still have a keen interest on actually wanting to make more money, especially through property. And if they can actually meet a person like yourself that's experienced in property trading, then that's all the merrier, because you're solving their pain points of wanting to make more money but not having the time, and equally they're solving your pain points of the lack of funding and the lack of ability to do more deals if you don't have that funding. So you can actually find them from a lot of these different events and Facebook pages, and as well as just in general conversation. And of course you can find your JV money partners as part of your power team. As I mentioned, my lawyer is one of my JV money partners on a lot of the deals I do. And lastly, use friends and family when you're starting out as well, because they can be an awesome source of actually of funding. And if you're cutting the profits with them, they should be happy to actually work with you. Of course, you want to de-risk the deal as much as possible, and you want to have a proposal in place, which we'll talk about soon as well. So you want to figure out how much your money partners actually have access to in terms of funding. And I've got 3 points here, which are: it helps having a figure so you don't actually go over budget. Basically, you want to be prepared to work with limited funds or walk away from the deal entirely if you can't actually get access to more funding. And basically, more money partners or more JV money partners just means more options and more opportunity where you can go and do more deals. Now, having an exact number your money partners can actually get or have access to is very important. And I actually clarify that. I actually put it on a little Excel sheet and even write in the date of when this money might be available. Now, some of my money partners don't just do JV deals with just me alone. There are other property traders they work with, or they also invest in other short-term lending and stuff like that as well. So anything that basically makes you money. And I catch up with my money partners every now and again, and it can be in the form of a phone call or just to catch up for a coffee, just to figure out where that money is going to be at and when. That allows me to figure out, should I go out and look for another deal, or maybe I should relax for a little bit just until my money partner has the funds available, because it's currently tied up in another investment. So you want to really figure out what amount you can get access to, so you're not actually running around doing deals and realizing that you have to drop the contract and go back to the vendor and say, sorry, I can't move forward because you didn't have all your funding aligned. Now, as a rule of thumb for myself and my business, I generally work with JV money partners that actually have the ability to fund the entire purchase. And if they only have a partial amount, I don't really want to be involving more than one money partner, because then we're having to overcomplicate things and actually have to actually split the deal 3 ways. And then the profits also start to dwindle out as well. However, if you're starting off and your money partners might be your parents or family members or friends, sometimes you only are limited to the funds you have available, and you have no choice but to work with what you have. And that may be the case that you don't go out and buy properties above the $1 million range and start off with something that's a lot more affordable, whilst you slowly build up that fund and also help your money partners make more profit as well. And once they start to see that they're making some profits, they'll feel more comfortable, and maybe the case that they can even provide more funds through other sources as well. And you want to have all this worked out, because we're not in the game of hope, and we only basically do a deal if we can ensure we can firstly fund it, and if we know there's going to be profit on the other end. So you want to be constantly building this pillar of money partners when you're not going out and doing deals, because again guys, the more money partners you have access to, the more opportunity you have. So this is a question that we actually asked when we were looking at settling the deals ourselves, and when we were looking at using our own money. And it's the same question we have to ask when we are looking at using other people's money as well. And that question is, do I have enough funds to cover other expenses of the deals? And again guys, the expenses actually include renovations, general maintenance, and holding costs as well. These are all expenses part of property trading. So why we have to figure this out is this helps us figure out what profit splits agreements we're going to be working with again. And again guys, the general rule when I'm doing a JV money partner deal is that if the JV money partner is paying for absolutely everything, I'm talking about the deposit, they're also settling out the property in their own name, they're also paying for all the interest payments, all the holding costs, as well as any establishment fees, if any, and all renovation costs. If the JV money partner is actually paying for everything, then the profit split after all expenses is going to be 50-50. Now outside this rule, anything where I have to contribute more money, I will skew it into my favor, and it could be the case of 60-40 and or other profit splits. And again, this is what you need to be working out with your money partner. And of course, when you're starting out, you want to ensure that the money partner is actually walking away with a decent profit. Otherwise, they're not going to be prepared to work with you in the future. So keep that in mind. This is just my profit split, but whatever you can kind of pitch to your JV money partners, and whatever flies will work with what you've discussed. So what profit split will work with you and the JV money partner? And again, in the beginning, when you're just starting out, you want to be working in the favor of your JV money partner, so you've got someone there that's going to be willing and prepared to help you out moving forward. Now you can always negotiate and have more leverage once you have a few deals under your belt, and it could even be the case that you talk to your money partners and say, well, any time that you lend me $500,000, can I give you a $30,000 return? And if you're happy with that, can we stick to that figure? All of this can be negotiated, and it's up to the JV money partner to see what they'll happily agree with, and what also works with you as well. And that just means that if you can leverage something more in your favor, even though if you go out and do a deal where it might make you $80,000 or $100,000, it doesn't matter, because you've already negotiated with your money partner that they only get $30,000 and you can keep the remaining $70,000, for example. And you have more power once you actually proven yourself. So just keep that in mind when starting out. Ensure that you're going to have to look after other people and help other people out first. But once you have a bit of money and it's been proven, keep in mind the money partners also want to constantly work with you, because they're also turning over a profit as well. So they're going to be more favorable after you've actually helped them make some money. And another big reason why you actually want to be looking after your JV money partners very early on, and not just early on as well, but right throughout your career or your time you're running your business doing property trading, is because you have to keep in mind they're actually taking all the risks as well. And that's how I actually structured the JV money partner agreement, which I'll cover in a few slides later, to kind of de-risk the deal for myself. And as I mentioned earlier as well, that I often use other people's money if I find that the deal has a little bit of a risk. And I obviously only want to do deals where I'm definitely going to be making money, because we're not in the business of just going out and doing something and not making any money. It's a waste of time, it's a waste of your money partner's time, and you're going to actually lose a money partner. And it's actually hard work to encourage someone to work with you, and especially lend large amounts of money. And that's very important to keep them happy. So, always keep it in their favor, but depending on the deal would depend on what percentage you want to give out. Now, just as an example, I remember another property trader that's very good at what he does, a good friend of mine. He did a big land deal. He did a deal where he actually subdivided the land because he bought it very cheap. I think he bought it at about $1 million, and he didn't have the money. So when he actually drew up the contract and agreed with the vendor for the purchase price of $1 million, he didn't have any money. But his JV money partner actually fronted the entire $1 million. However, instead of having a 50-50 split or a 60-40 split, of that nature of what I've explained, he actually only offered the JV money partner 15%. So on a $1 million loan, he was prepared to give the JV money partner $150,000 after the deal was completed and settled. And the reason why he was prepared to do that was because the profit on the other end was going to be $1 million. And I know it sounds insane to think that, how can someone put $1 million down on a property and realize another extra $1 million in profit at the end of it? But that's exactly what happened on this deal. And that's why, the property trader at the time, one of my good friends, he was very confident that he was going to make $1 million on this deal, which is why he only offered 15% for his JV money partner. And his JV money partner obviously knew he was very experienced in what he did, and said, okay, I'll take on the 15%, even though in previous deals they did, 50-50 arrangements or 60-40 arrangements. But for this particular deal, he was prepared to walk away with 15%, because $150,000 is still no small sum by any measure. And that deal actually completed, and it was done successfully. And my very good friend, the property trader, had made about $1 million, and he paid off $150,000 to the JV money partner. So again, guys, the profit splits doesn't have to be what I've got on the screen here. It doesn't have to be 50-50 or 55-45 or whatever examples I have. It's what you can negotiate and what will actually benefit you, as well as keeping your money partners happy. So before we actually go and start running around and start to look for JV money partners and present them deals, there are a few questions we need to figure out if it's actually even worthwhile to talk to a JV money partner. And those things are have an idea of minimum requirements from your JV money partners in terms of profits they work with and the money they're prepared to lend you. And we also have to figure out, is the risk actually worth the rewards? If the rewards are only going to be $10,000 or $15,000 and the risk is very high, and there's not a good chance that I'm actually going to receive the profits on the other end, well, I'm not going to do the deal. And the goal is not to do every deal, but to turn a healthy profit every time. And when you're kind of starting out, you want to do every deal, and that's not the right way to go about things, because it's crucial you have your money partners for the long term. And should a deal go south and you lose your money partners, it's not going to be easy to recoup those money partners, and it's taking you time and effort to actually bring them on board. So you don't want to be taking on every single deal just because you've got itchy hands and you want to get more experience. And that's all good and well, but you're better off getting experience when you don't actually lose money, because when we're playing the game of property trading, we are talking real money. And when you lose money, it's not fun for anyone. And guys, look, I won't lie, when I was first starting out and I had a money partner, I have lost money on a deal before, right? So I'm not going to be too proud to say I've never lost money on a deal, but it wasn't my money. It was my JV money partner's deal. And the thing for myself in my own property trading business, I haven't personally lost any money on any deals before. And the reason why is because any deals that I find to be a little bit risky, I'd rather use a money partner for it. Now, I've kind of learned from that I shouldn't even have taken on that particular deal to begin with, because if I wasn't too confident in it, why should I be using someone else's money and encouraging them to jump in on the deal when I'm not even that confident myself? So these days I only work with confident deals, and I ensure I turn a healthy profit every time. And one more note as well, guys, is that, you know, every money partner is different in terms of their criteria, in terms of how much they actually want to be making. Now, for me, I've kind of figured out that most money partners don't want to be working for anything less than 15 grand. And we're talking 15 grand in terms of gross profit just before tax. And that means that each deal has to bring in roughly 30K in profits, so we can split that and get 15 each. Anything less than 30K on a deal, then it's not really worthwhile. So that's kind of the numbers I work with, and you can kind of take that as a rule of thumb for you guys when you're starting out. But if you have other money partners that are prepared to work on other figures, well, that's just up to you to work out with them. So if you finally think that you've actually found a deal and you're onto a winner, keep in mind it's not as easy as just saying, here's a deal, you're going to make money, give me the money and I'll go out and do it. And we'll both walk away and you know, we'll be laughing to the bank. That's not how it works. With money partners, you're also going to have to propose a proposal to them on why they should actually be investing on this particular deal. And, you know, basically it involves selling to your money partner on why they should be working with you versus any other investment they're currently looking at, right? And basically the following things is what I provide to the money partner to help with the proposal and get them interested in joining me on this venture. And these are the following things we must cover. So we've got the deposit amount, the settlement amount, the forecasted holding cost, the forecasted renovation cost, the forecasted profits and profit splits, and supported documents that actually relate to the deal. And what I mean by that is, you know, you've got your government documents, you've got any registered valuations, you've got comparative market analysis, you've got multiple different agent appraisals, and you've got rental appraisals, and, you know, you might have building reports or meth tests and stuff like that as well. So more information, the better, because it makes the decision a lot easier for your JV money partner to actually consider if you've actually provided everything, and they can start calculating what would happen in the worst case scenario if it doesn't sell. You know, you've got this rent that I could possibly go out and rent the property for. You know, what happens if the market falls a little or goes sideways a little? You know, have I purchased below enough the actual registered valuation or comparative market analysis to ensure it's a safe deal? So these are all the questions the JV money partner is going to be asking. So there's no point just bringing them a property without all these all this information, because they're not going to do the deal, and they're going to turn around and actually ask you these questions anyway. So this is all the information we need to make things easy for the JV money partner. And of course, you want to ensure the deal is going to turn you a profit, and you want to ensure that the money partner isn't going to lose any money, and that's what you want to be talking about to him or her. So on the screen here, guys, you can actually see an example of a proposal I had for a JV money partner on a particular deal that I did need other people's money for. And basically it covers all the points that I've just talked about previously, and I'll actually provide this where you can go on and download it in this week's material, so you can actually go over and read it over slowly to ensure that you have all the same line items when you're going out and writing your own proposal for your money partners as well. And, you know, it's not too complex. It's basically just a Word document I've kind of drummed up, and I've converted it into a PDF, and basically it covers all those points I've actually mentioned. And I've also provided a link, a Dropbox link, to any supporting documents. And those supporting documents are, as I mentioned earlier, you know, the registered valuations, the meth testing, any rental appraisals or agent appraisals on the property, and so forth. So all of this is neatly and concisely packaged into one PDF with all the supporting links the JV money partner can actually click on and actually view those documents. And it's very easy for them to see how much money they're going to make, how much money they're going to have to put in, and why they're actually going to make that money on the other end, because of the supporting documents, and because we've actually provided research on, you know, this is why we're going to reach this sales price of this indicated feedback from our power team and using our resources. So that's something you guys are going to have to do when you're proposing these deals. And I've done it in a way that I've built up a database of my JV money partners, whereas when I get a deal, I essentially format it in the same PDF with all the same supporting documents that I've just mentioned, and I blast that out to my entire JV money partner database. And basically, I like to divvy up who I work with, so everyone gets a bit of profit. And it helps me build more money partners as well, so I can actually go out and do more deals. But basically, I just blast it out on an email, and I wait for the first money partner to actually come back and say, yes, I'll take the deal on. And it's literally that straightforward, because once you've done it for a while, the JV money partners are going to realize that you really know your stuff, you're serious about making money, and you want to make money for them for the long term as well, which is why you're constantly providing them these deals. So, it's gone to the point where all I need to do now is just send an email out, and someone from my JV money partner list is going to respond, generally within the next 12 hours to 24 hours saying, yes, we'll take that on. And that's because I've done so many deals now that they trust me. So, you guys are going to be able to do this after you go out and practice and get a few deals under your belt. So if you finally propose to your JV money partner and you found the deal, and your JV money partner's actually responded back saying, yes, I want to work with you on this deal, now you're finally up to the point where you have to basically draw up the JV money partner agreement contract. And there are main things to figure out when we're writing up this contract, and again, it's who pays for what and when. And the three things to consider is the deposit, the holding cost, and the renovation cost. And this is actually defined in the actual JV money partner agreement. And I haven't put it on the screen because it's it's a lot of pages, and it's a real JV money partner agreement that it's actually binding. And I've paid thousands of dollars to actually get it legally drawn up, but you guys can use it because it's part of the Property Academy program. So go on to this week's materials and you can actually download the JV money partner agreement. I've also highlighted the points where you need to be filling in certain information so you guys can actually understand how to actually go about using it. So go out, use this actual JV money partner agreement when you find a deal and you're onto a winner, and you've also gathered a money partner that's prepared to work with you. This is the agreement you'll be using and writing out that will be binding between you guys. And that's how you're able to settle the deal into someone else's entity, but still clear 50% of the profits, if not more, just depending again on how you set this up with your JV money partner. So on the screen right now, guys, you'll actually see a snippet of what we provided as part of our proposal for our JV money partner. And this is actually a Excel document and a spreadsheet that we actually put together where it highlights all the different amounts of payments that is required for the JV money partner deal to go through. And we've also calculated the different types of splits that can be selected as an option. So we've got 50% split, 45% split, 40% split over to the JV money partner, and so forth. And on this particular deal, we actually ended up doing a 60-40 split because my JV money partner only actually had $550,000 in terms of available funds. So I'll go over on the next slide because this one probably isn't clear enough for you guys to see, but I have provided this in this week's downloadables and the materials you can actually review and download, because this is what you're going to be providing when you're going out and proposing to JV money partners as well. So let's just take a look at what a JV money partner deal looks like. So it's a deal where I use other people's money. And this deal that I've traded is on a street or on a road called Cobham Crescent. And essentially the purchase price was $600,000. Now the borrowed money from the JV money partner at the time was only $550,000 because that's all he actually had access to. He did have more funds, but apparently they were tied up in other investments that weren't that liquid, and I had to wait a few more months if I wanted the full $600,000. So obviously the deal was too good to pass up, and I had capital at the time, so I actually fronted the remaining $50,000 to make up the total purchase price of $600,000. Now, when I asked my JV money partner if he had any extra money lying around in regards to the holding costs and renovation costs, that he could work with. If it was kind of around that 20 grand or 30 grand mark, he could work with that. But in terms of paying the renovation fees and holding costs, as well as a deposit on top, being 50,000, that's something he wasn't prepared to do, or he couldn't have the access to that type of money. So because normally on my JV money partner deals, it's normally 50-50 if I don't have to front a single dollar, or if I do front any money up front, I expect the money partner to pay me back very quickly via an invoice. So in this instance, because I had to put $50,000 off my own money, I said, well, are you open to doing a 60-40 split? Because if you were able to front the entire fund, I would happily walk away with 50%. And you know, he's also happy to walk away with 50% as well, because he's not doing anything. I'm actually managing the entire process from start to finish, from purchasing the property, renovating the property, and actually putting it on the market, and receiving the end sales contract and having it sold as well. You know, that's all my own doing. So he was actually okay with that. He was said, yep, no, that's fine. Let's work with a 60-40 split. So let's look at the numbers together. So there's a purchase price of 600,000. The borrowed money from my JV money partner was 550,000. The deposit I paid personally was 50,000. The renovation cost $8,830. The legal fees were roughly about 2 grand, and we didn't actually sell it on the open market with a real estate agent, and I actually sold it privately myself. So our sales price ended up being 670,000, and it was actually a lot less than what we expected and what I had originally proposed to my money partner. However, you know, we're still making a massive amount of profit here, and we still walked away very happy. And it doesn't always go to plan. It doesn't always go to your expected proposal figure. Sometimes you miss the mark, even if you are a little bit, even if you are being more conservative as well. And you know, my money partner and myself were really happy with the result, because we actually did all of this within a kind of 2-month period, and to get a return of $51,452 pre-tax is still an amazing result regardless. And the pre-tax profit amount of $51,452 is actually less the GST portion as well. So that's what we'll actually be splitting between me and the money partner, and then we both kind of pay our own tax depending on our own circumstances, right? So there was no real estate agent commission involved, and my 60% of that profit portion ends up becoming $30,871 pre-tax profit, and my JV money partner receives the remaining 40%, which ends up being $20,581 in pre-tax profit. Now, because we basically took on the deal and sold it within that 2-month period, this is pretty much an equivalent of a 24% return for my money partner in terms of his money. And it's not bad at all compared to what the banks are actually offering in terms of interest rates. You know, they're only offering 1 or 2%. So, he was really impressed with the deal. Although it didn't hit the numbers that we forecasted or expected, he was still over the moon, because essentially he didn't have to do anything. All he had to do was sign a bit of paperwork to sign our JV money partner agreement, send the money over to the lawyers, and you know, that was it. He didn't have to manage the whole process. I didn't even kind of keep him up to date that often, because this is a money partner I've worked with on several deals, and he trusts me. After doing the first couple of deals, he kind of just leaves me to it, and this is another one in the books that we've done and completed. So that gives you a breakdown of what it's like to actually work with a JV money partner on a certain deal, and how you can arrange different profit splits by depending on how you kind of arrange the deal from the beginning as well. And 50,000, I do realize that not everyone has access to this type of money, but by all means, you know, if I didn't actually have the cash, then what I would be doing is finding a different money partner that would actually have the budget for the entire project. But you can see that once you start making a bit more money and you have more access to capital, you're going to be able to take on more deals at any given time, because you've got more options to play around with. For this deal here, if I was to walk away because my money partner could only front 550,000, then I wouldn't have been able to do the deal altogether. So you can see that slowly and surely, once you start building that capital, you're going to be able and given the opportunity to do a lot more deals and have a lot more arrangements with your money partners as well. So guys, it's important to understand the pros and cons of working with a JV money partner, and the pros and cons of essentially using someone else's money. So the pros are basically the risk is very much minimized, or there's no risk at all, because depending on how you negotiate the initial agreement with your JV money partner, you can actually say that the risk all falls on yourself. And that's actually how I've actually set up my JV money partner agreements, to ensure that I don't lose any money at all whenever a JV money partner is going to settle the deal. There's no loopholes to jump through for lending, because you'll actually be surprised, but there's so many people out there that actually have just cash saved up in their bank, and they don't know what to do with it, and they're actually waiting for an opportunity to meet someone like myself or like you guys, that's able to utilize their funds and help them grow it in a short span of time, all whilst doing it through property and ensuring that the deals that we're doing aren't too risky. So, the money partners that I've sought have ranged from, very high-end professionals that have high-paying jobs like doctors or lawyers, but it's also ranged from other JV money partners that just work a standard job like a nursing company or a cleaning company or something like that. But they're really, really good savers, and they've just never actually had anything to do with the money, or they never was able to figure out where they should be putting their money. So in terms of the loopholes for lending, it's really easy, because when you're working with a JV money partner, essentially they have the cash ready to go in their bank, or should it be the case that they still want to do the deal with you, well, it's up to them if they want to go through the lending process and get the lending through a different company. But it's the paperwork that we don't have to deal with. It's something that the JV money partner actually deals with themselves. So it is very straightforward working with the JV money partner. You get access to the funds almost immediately, so there's no lengthy period. As long as your JV money partner agrees with the deal and understand there will be profit made, very quickly they can transfer the funds over to you once the agreement has been signed. And you're actually able to do a lot of deals where other lenders may reject, or where other lenders may not be able to provide you with the full finance for it. Now, for the Amarillo case study, from memory, I think it was the case that we did try approach a lender, but because our purchase price wasn't low enough in terms of what the value of the property was worth, and equally my money personally was actually tied up in several other deals, the only option that I actually had was either to on-sell the property by doing a zero money down deal, which I tried to do actually, and I couldn't find a buyer, and at which point I needed to use my last resort, which is using a JV money partner, and they were able to actually provide me the funds where others weren't able to. Now, the disadvantage or the cons are obviously you are going to have to split the profits with someone, but as I mentioned on the previous slide, I would much rather have 50% of something rather than 100% of nothing. So I was either going to walk away with 27,000 odd, or I could have not done the deal altogether and I would have had 100% of actually nothing by not doing the deal at all. Another disadvantage working with the JV money partner is, depending on the type of money partner you're working on, if they are experienced or they have actually worked with you in the past, there's not as much pressure. However, I can imagine when you're first starting out like I did, I actually had calls from the JV money partners every couple of days just saying, how are things going? Do you have any traction on it? Or how far are you through the renovation process? And that's just something you have to work with the JV money partner on and help them understand that, yes, everything's going to plan, it's fine, don't worry, keep them reassured that everything's going to plan, because ultimately, they're parting with a lot of money that they've worked very hard for, and I can appreciate and understand why they're feeling that way. So, you just basically want to reassure them and ensure that everything is going to plan, and basically comfort them so that they're going to realize that they are actually going to receive profits on the other end. And we're not here to actually run away with their money or anything like that. And the reason why, guys, is because you got to think long term. And helping your money partners earn money is a great thing, because they're going to continue loaning you money every single time without question, once you've actually proved to them that you can make them money.